Cold War and Africa. Primarily, we're going to be looking at Libya and Ghana. So you do have the reading that is in the reading packet. So you want to be able to use the reading to see if you can figure out the answers to the information in that section. Let's first start off here with Kwame Nkrumah, the leader of Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah is an interesting figure. Keep in mind there is a post-World War II, anything that's happening in Africa is after World War II is what becomes known as the decolonization of Africa. I just forgot how to spell that. Decolonization of Africa. And the argument here, if you go back to the Berlin Conference where the European powers had carved up pieces of Africa, decolonization after World War II, they're all leaving. So Africa is pretty much going back to the Africans. And this is going to lead to civil war and a lot of competition to see who is going to control once the European powers that have been in control of Africa since the 1800s are now leaving, which is where this figure, Kwame Nkrumah, comes into play. So for Kwame Nkrumah in the reading, what you want to focus on is pretty much all that I have here. I'm not going to click these links because I don't want to get flagged or anything here. But to understand Kwame Nkrumah believed in the Organization of African Unity. He wanted to have a United States of Africa. So if you were to click this link here, that's where that would take you to that particular item. And, just some of the things that Kwame Nkrumah had advocated for with regard to Africans, looking out for Africans and trying to operate like a United States. So how does he get into the situation in the Cold War? Why is he a factor? So a couple of items here as we look through this progression chart. I really didn't say much about him. And really the key here is going to be this one. As we said before, he is going to become the first president of Ghana. And where he goes, what he does with that power is going to be potentially problematic. So the first thing that happens here is World War II is going to have to come to an end. We remember the Atlantic Charter, which in this case is starting to inspire people to, advocate for their own, to be free from imperialism and so on. So World War II is going to come to an end. The Atlantic Charter is going to inspire individuals, Kwame Nkrumah being one of them. That will lead to him becoming the first president of Ghana. So now, with that in mind, the U.S. is going to be in a situation. Here you have Kwame Nkrumah, and Kwame Nkrumah, is he going to be a friend to the U.S. or an enemy? He's going to gain aid from the United States, which tells us that this individual at one point was allied with the U.S. However, some of his reforms, I guess, were labeled too socialist for the United States, which prompted the United States to withdraw its aid. So, we would go that he gains aid from the United States, and then at that particular point, he implements his socialist ideas, and as a result of his ideas being socialist, according to the United States, that is going to lead to the United States withdrawing aid. So I picked this one with Ghana only because it's a good example of, any nation being in a situation where they're accepting aid from either side. However, if they go against the ideas, the capitalists or the communists, then that becomes problematic and they possibly will lose some of their support. That's why I picked that particular item. You might want to read the section here in the packet that talks about Nkrumah's socialism in that particular reading, which is part of the reason why I'm not really going over this one too much. Libya and Gaddafi. Libya, more of North Africa here. Keep in mind, I do have these charts that are on the site, and here we have the one involving Libya. And Libya's history with the United States spans a couple of decades. You do have a reading, so you might want to take a look at the reading so you could, increase your content knowledge on this. All right, so here's we go. Some of the basics. Here is King Idris. So I use this image here of King Idris possibly being a puppet to the United States. Keep in mind, this could be anybody. When you see this image, this could be the Prime Minister of Iran. It could be Diem in South Vietnam. But the puppet idea, when you hear that phrase being used in global politics, it's looking at the concept of indirect imperialism. And in indirect imperialism, The question here is, who is actually pulling the strings? Does the leader have any power, or is it really the colonial power that has all of the power within the nation in question here? Anyway, so here we have King Idris. He is replaced in 69 by Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi is going to want to implement his green revolution. And he does a couple of things that angers the United States. For one, in Libya, the United States was leasing air bases, and Gaddafi is about to reject extending those leases, which means the United States is going to have to go somewhere else. Keep in mind, he also is trying to implement his green revolution, and he is about to purchase some SAM missiles. SAM missiles come from Russia. So from the United States point of view, he's buying weapons from Russia, and he is not allowing the United States to lease any of those air bases. And that is going to be problematic for the United States. It looks like when this guy comes to power, replacing King Idris, this guy does not want to align himself with the United States, creating a bad relationship. And keep in mind, I am talking about here we see 69, and we do shift to the 80s. So the items mentioned here are in the 70s when Muammar Gaddafi is in power, establishing that bad relationship. And Libya is a good example of things just really, and worse. One thing just leads to another, that act-react relationship. So we know in the 70s that the United States has a pretty bad relationship with Libya. Then we get to the Gulf of Sydra incident. So in the Gulf of Sydra, international waters recognize the yellow line, and Gaddafi is claiming Libyan water extends to the purple. So there are two fighter jets, Libyan fighter jets, that are in this disputed area. The United States shoots these planes down, and it seems that the United States has drawn first blood. But that's kind of where this is at. Keep in mind, the Gulf of Sydra incident is 81, and you get to 1986, where the LaBelle Disco Club is attacked. So apparently, in the LaBelle Disco, this was a response to the Gulf of Sydra. LaBelle Disco is in Germany. Why is the United States in Germany? Because remember, the United States, since World War II, has the authority to be in Germany, especially after they created two and East and West. So the LaBelle Disco is a known place where U.S. soldiers go, and this place is bombed by Libyan nationalists or people advocating on behalf of Libya. Maybe it was Gaddafi ordering the hit. What we know is that Reagan, the president of the United States in the 80s, responds by bombing Libya directly. Here you see Tripoli under attack, in the process killing Gaddafi's daughter, stepdaughter. I have to double check that. I think it's a stepdaughter. Anyway, if you click the links here, the links will take you to Reagan's speech. The links will also take you to some news footage of the LaBelle bombing. And of course, so now we are in a situation. We have Gaddafi coming to power here. He kicks out U.S. interests. Gulf of Sydra. After the Gulf of Sydra, we have the LaBelle Disco. LaBelle Disco, now we have wound up bombing their capital. And now we're going to have a response from Libya. We already know about that particular graphic. And so what you want to take note of here is that in 88, now you see Pan Am flight destroyed over Lockerbie, Scotland. So Pan Am flight, there was an altitude bomb that was placed in this luggage compartment. When the plane reached a certain height, it was designed to explode, and that is the Pan Am 103 Lockerbie, destruction. Libyan nationalists would later claim responsibility, and this would pretty much go into the Obama administration trying to figure out who was responsible and whether or not Gaddafi had ordered this particular, attack here. Anyway, just another item here. There's a difference. This is a more recent bombing. This is where the laptops, individuals try to bring down the plane by putting a bomb in a laptop, whereas here they just put it in the luggage. So if you're interested in the evolution of bringing down planes with bombs, this one's used an altitude bomb. This is a computer bomb. Anyway, so here we go with the progression chart. What do you come up with on this one? Let's see, where are we at? Gaddafi overthrows King Idris. kicks out those capitalists and communists. King Idris is in power. That makes no sense. Probably would have to start here with the Berlin Conference. And the World War II, King Idris is in power. And I will say that the last thing that happens is this one. Gaddafi is going to support Khomeini. What is a Khomeini? He is referring to Iran, which is the next focus. We will get to the Iran screencast next. So anyway, see if you could figure out the rest of that progression chart there. Like I said, we're going to start off first with the Berlin Conference, end of World War II. King Idris is in power. Gaddafi then has to overthrow this individual. So we're basically picking between these two, and it's pretty obvious.